There's a reason everything feels unstable right now. It isn't just politics, or weather, or economics, or the endless noise of a planet that seems to have forgotten how to breathe. Something deeper, something ancient, is unraveling beneath the surface of human consciousness. The world you grew up inside is dissolving, and it's meant to. You can feel it, can't you? The acceleration, the compression, the strange distortion of time, how a day feels like a year, and yet the years vanish like smoke. You try to anchor yourself in what's familiar, but even the familiar has begun to disintegrate. Relationships shift, careers collapse. Identities that once defined you no longer fit. You look around and wonder if everyone else feels it too. That subtle pressure in the air, that invisible hum of inevitability. You're not imagining it. Humanity is undergoing a dimensional shift, not a fantasy, but an evolutionary phase transition of consciousness. The reason everything feels like it's ending is because, in a very real sense, it is. The collective psyche of our species is outgrowing the frequency band it once called reality. The systems built upon separation and survival, economy, religion, power. Control cannot sustain the new vibration rising from within us. The chaos you see isn't a breakdown, it's a metamorphosis. We are inside the chrysalis of civilization. The caterpillar believes it's dying when the cocoon closes. It doesn't know that its body is dissolving to become something winged. Humanity, too, is dissolving our institutions, our myths, our ways of seeing. It's not punishment, it's physics. Every structure vibrates only as long as the consciousness that created it remains coherent. When that consciousness evolves, the structures fall apart. This is why your emotions feel amplified lately. Why small events trigger enormous waves inside you. The collective nervous system of the planet is recalibrating, and you are one cell within that body. When Earth's frequency rises, every human heart begins to vibrate faster, flushing out everything that cannot harmonize. This is why people are so divided, why truths are clashing, why extremes are becoming unbearable. The contrast isn't chaos, it's calibration. There's a moment in every transformation where the old form and the new form overlap. It's the most painful moment because you can still feel the decay of what's dying, but you can already sense the pulse of what's being born. That's where we are now, in the overlap between worlds. Your mind may try to categorize it. Crisis, collapse, end times, but the heart knows better. The heart feels the pulse of birth beneath the rubble. The anxiety so many feel is not just personal. It's the ache of a species awakening to its own evolution. We are remembering that we are not separate individuals trapped in competition. We are a single consciousness, learning to perceive itself through billions of eyes. The feeling that everything's falling apart isn't a mistake, it's initiation. You came here for this exact transition, and your sensitivity to it is proof. The ones who feel the most disoriented are the ones most attuned to the frequency of what's coming. The old paradigm taught us to suppress that sensitivity, to medicate it, to hide it. But in truth, sensitivity is the compass of awakening. It's how consciousness guides itself toward coherence. You may have noticed that time itself seems to be misbehaving. Hours stretch, days disappear, synchronicities multiply. It's not your imagination, it's what happens when collective consciousness begins moving out of linear time and into resonance time. In linear time, events follow cause and effect, like dominoes. In resonance time, moments align by frequency. You start meeting the right people at the perfect instant, hearing messages exactly when your soul needs them, feeling guided by an invisible intelligence that's been waiting for you to notice it. This is why certain paths, relationships, and dreams are disintegrating. It's not failure, it's resonance, correction. Anything built from fear control, or outdated identity structures cannot survive the new harmonic. You may mourn their loss, but nothing real is ever lost. Only illusion fades. The essence of love, purpose, truth, these are eternal vibrations, and they will follow you into the new world. So yes, the world as you knew it is ending, but the new world is not arriving from above or beyond. It is arriving through you. Every time you choose love over fear, authenticity over approval, presence over distraction, you are transmitting a signal into the morphic field of humanity. Every act of coherence sends a ripple through the collective frequency, weakening the gravitational pull of the old paradigm. We were taught to think of awakening as a personal achievement, but it was never meant to be solitary. What's happening now is not your awakening. It's our awakening. The illusion of individuality is dissolving, and we are remembering the one consciousness breathing through us all. That's why the loneliness hurts more than ever, because it's being burned away. You're not losing connection. You're being prepared for a deeper one. What's being born isn't a utopia. It's not a paradise free of contrast or pain. What's being born is awareness that pain is not punishment, it's transformation in progress. The new world won't be perfect, it will be alive. And aliveness means evolution, movement, change. The difference is that in the new consciousness, change no longer feels like loss. It feels like expansion. So if you feel the heaviness, the fatigue, the restlessness breathe, you are not broken. You are becoming transparent to the evolution moving through you. The more you resist, the harder it feels. The more you allow, the lighter it becomes. Because what's ending is everything false, and what's being born is everything true. The end of a world doesn't happen in one cataclysmic moment. It happens quietly within human hearts. It happens when people stop believing in the stories that once gave them meaning. It happens when a person looks at their reflection one morning and no longer recognizes the roles they've been playing. That's how the world ends, not with fire, but with recognition. What you're witnessing now is the collective unmasking of identity. The systems that once shaped civilization, economics, religion, politics, were never external forces. They were projections of the collective mind. Humanity built institutions that mirrored its inner architecture. Hierarchy for its fear of chaos, control for its insecurity, laws for its loss of inner alignment. And now that the consciousness behind those structures is evolving, the projections are collapsing. This is why governments are destabilizing, why markets fluctuate like fever dreams, why belief systems fracture into extremism. They are the outer echoes of a psychological earthquake, shaking the foundations of the human story. Inside you, that same earthquake is happening. Every person alive right now is feeling it in some form. The death of the old identity. It might come as exhaustion, confusion, depression, or a strange sense of detachment from your own life. You're not malfunctioning, you're rebooting. The ego, which once functioned as a survival program, is losing its authority. It's terrified because its job was to keep you safe in a world built on fear. But the new frequency you're entering doesn't require protection, it requires transparency. Ego translates that transparency as danger. It calls it uncertainty. But uncertainty, in truth, is spaciousness. It's the clearing where the new self begins to breathe. This is why so many people feel lost. They are standing between timelines, no longer belonging to the frequency of the old paradigm, but not yet rooted in the new. They are learning to walk without the crutches of certainty, to feel without the armor of identity. It's disorienting because for the first time, the mind doesn't have a map. But maps only work in linear worlds, and you're not in one anymore. You are in the threshold, the place where the known dissolves so that something greater can emerge. This transition feels like grief, because in many ways it is. You are mourning an entire dimension of reality. The structures that once gave you meaning are collapsing, and with them, the versions of yourself that depended on them. The relationship that validated you. The career that defined you. The beliefs that comforted you. They're fading because they were built in gravity, and you're learning to live in light. Grief, though, is not an enemy. It's an initiation. Every tear you shed is a form of purification, the emotional body flushing out the residue of time. You cry not because something is gone, but because your system is learning to feel without the filters of numbness and control. You're feeling life in its raw, unmediated form. That sensitivity is your resurrection. There's a myth that awakening brings bliss, but real awakening often begins as disintegration. Bliss comes later, after you stop trying to resurrect the old you. The discomfort you feel isn't punishment, it's detox. Your consciousness is expelling everything that can't exist in coherence. The anxiety, the confusion, the fatigue, they are the contractions of rebirth. And here's the truth most people overlook. The end of an era doesn't only destroy what's false, it also reveals what was always real. When the noise fades, you begin to hear something that was always there beneath the static, the hum of the living cosmos. The intelligence that orchestrates everything, even this collapse. You realize that the same force that unravels you is the one rebuilding you at the same time. That force has been called many names: life, God, consciousness, love, but its nature is always the same: unity remembering itself. You can feel that, remembering as subtle moments of peace between waves of chaos. Moments when the noise stops, and for no reason at all, you feel calm. You might be driving, walking, washing dishes, and suddenly a stillness descends. It's fleeting, but unmistakable. It's your signal, the reminder that something vast is guiding this process, that you are not falling apart. You are falling through time, through identity, through illusion, into coherence. In this stage of the collective transition, many will cling to fear because fear feels familiar. You'll see people trying to rebuild old systems, enforce old beliefs, resurrect old hierarchies. Don't judge them. They are trying to stop the tide with their hands because they don't yet know how to swim in the new waters. But you are learning. The fear you feel isn't your enemy. It's the weight that proves you're moving beyond gravity. Each time you breathe through it, instead of fighting it, you raise not just your own vibration, but the frequency of the collective field. Every act of presence ripples across the grid of humanity. You've heard the phrase, the 100th monkey effect. It's more than a metaphor, it's resonance mechanics. When enough individuals embody a frequency, it becomes accessible to everyone. That's what this ending is really about. Coherence reaching critical mass. Humanity is remembering itself, one heartbeat at a time. You are not just watching the world transform. You are the transformation in motion. Every realization you integrate, every moment of truth you live, feeds directly into the awakening matrix that's being born through all of us. You may not see its full shape yet, but its pulse is everywhere. In the quiet revolutions of people choosing love over fear, in the new art emerging from chaos, in the collective longing for meaning that no longer fits within the boundaries of religion or ideology. You're not crazy for feeling like something bigger is coming. You're feeling the birth contractions of a species, remembering what it is. At first, it feels strange to realize the world is not ending at all. It's reorganizing. The noise was never destruction, it was recalibration. What's really dying is fragmentation. The new consciousness you've been sensing doesn't descend like a miracle. It emerges quietly from within, like light rising from under the ocean. You start noticing this light in the smallest things. A conversation that once triggered you now opens into empathy instead of defense. A disappointment that would have shattered you now dissolves into clarity. You stop demanding that life meet your expectations and begin to meet life raw, unfiltered, moment by moment. This is how the new consciousness speaks, through resonance, not through reason. The mind tries to make sense of it, but reason cannot track what moves faster than thought. The heart can. The heart was designed to interpret reality beyond language. You've felt this before. That strange knowing that something is true long before you can explain why. That's coherence in action. That's how the new world communicates. As coherence spreads, the relationship between thought and matter begins to change. What you think no longer feels like an internal monologue. It's an act of participation in creation itself. The distinction between inner and outer reality starts to blur. A quiet realization dawns. You were never living in the world. The world was living in you. This is the beginning of resonance time. A field where events align not by sequence, but by vibration. In resonance time, cause and effect merge. What you are being now becomes what you experience next. There's no delay, no distance, no waiting for manifestations to arrive. They're immediate because the separation between the observer and the observed has dissolved. This is why so many people are reporting that reality feels faster. Because the delay that once existed between intention and experience is shrinking. It's not time accelerating, it's consciousness synchronizing. In this new frequency, intuition becomes navigation. You stop relying on logic to plan your future because logic is a tool of linearity, and linearity no longer governs your life. Instead, you listen not with ears, but with presence. You move when movement feels light, and you pause when resistance appears. You learn to trust that what feels aligned is intelligent, even when you can't prove it. And the proof always comes, not as validation, but as synchronicity. A message arrives, a door opens, a meeting happens. The pattern rearranges itself effortlessly. That's not luck, it's physics at higher coherence. You may notice that the more you align with resonance, the more transparent you become to others. People start responding to your energy rather than your words. Some are drawn closer, others drift away. You realize you're no longer trying to belong. You're becoming the field where belonging happens naturally. At this point, the emotional body becomes the compass of evolution. In the old paradigm, emotion was treated as weakness or interference. In the new consciousness, it's understood as information. Every feeling carries a frequency signature, a precise indicator of your alignment with the larger field. When you feel peace, it means you are synchronized with truth. When you feel friction, it means your consciousness is expanding beyond an old assumption. There is no good or bad emotion anymore, only signals guiding you. Toward greater coherence, you begin to live like a musician, tuning to a universal chord. You adjust your tone, your pace, your choices to match the harmony that life plays through you. And as you do, you notice the world itself starts reflecting that music back. Conversations flow, opportunities align. Even challenges arrive as perfect notes in a larger symphony. This is not a metaphor. It's the physics of awareness, reorganizing around resonance. As the collective human field grows more coherent, reality itself becomes less chaotic. Weather patterns stabilize. Biological systems heal. Technology evolves to serve connection instead of control. The same consciousness that built walls now begins to build bridges. And what about time? Time becomes art. We stop being trapped inside it and start shaping it consciously. Days no longer feel like units to endure. They become expressions of creation. You may find yourself working less, yet achieving more, because efficiency is no longer measured by speed, but by alignment. In this new state, presence becomes the only form of wealth. You realize that abundance isn't what you acquire. It's what flows when you stop resisting. Money, opportunities, health, they all become byproducts of coherence. You stop chasing outcomes and start embodying frequencies. And that's when something remarkable begins to happen in your relationships. People start awakening simply by being near you. Your coherence creates what scientists call morphic resonance, a field effect where one stabilized frequency helps others entrain to it naturally. You don't have to preach or persuade, you simply embody. Presence becomes transmission. This is how the new world spreads, not through revolution, but through resonance. The shift doesn't require everyone to wake up in the same way. It only requires a critical mass of coherent consciousness to stabilize the next octave of human reality. And we are very close. Every conversation like this one, every act of compassion, every moment of truth, they are quantum signals linking across continents, connecting souls who have never met, yet share the same vibration. That's what you're part of right now. That's why you're hearing these words. You didn't stumble upon this message, you aligned with it. You are the frequency that's being born. When the dust finally settles, not in the outer world, but within you, you realize nothing truly ended. The wars, the chaos, the unraveling you witnessed were reflections of a deeper purification, consciousness cleansing itself of amnesia. The apocalypse you feared was never destruction. It was disclosure, the unveiling of what was always there. The end of the world was the end of separation. The end of believing you were small, that existence was random, that life happened to you instead of through you. That illusion is dissolving now, and in its place, something breathtaking is emerging, a humanity that remembers itself as one vast intelligence, dreaming billions of dreams simultaneously. Look closely, and you can already see it. In the child who refuses to inherit the fear of their parents, in the scientist who blends data with intuition, in the artist who creates not to escape the world, but to heal it. In every stranger who chooses kindness when anger would have been easier. These are the first notes of the new consciousness, the hum of coherence weaving itself through the collective field. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand. It hums quietly beneath the noise, growing stronger every time someone chooses presence over panic, compassion over blame, truth over convenience. This is how new worlds are born, not in governments or revolutions, but in the soft recalibration of the human heart. The new consciousness feels different. It moves slower and deeper, like time itself has widened. You notice beauty in the smallest things, the way light bends through leaves, the way silence has texture, the way a simple breath can feel like a conversation with eternity. You begin to live, not in time, but with it. Moments stretch because you are fully inside them. The old world ran on fear, speed, and scarcity. The new one hums with trust, stillness, and sufficiency. You no longer chase what you desire, you resonate with it. You don't strive for alignment, you embody it. Manifestation becomes obsolete because the space between thought and form no longer exists. Everything real is already here. And perhaps the most beautiful part, you stop trying to save the world. You understand now that the world doesn't need saving. It needs remembering. Every attempt to fix what's broken belongs to the old consciousness. The new one doesn't fix, it integrates. It doesn't fight darkness, it illuminates it. In this awareness, even suffering transforms. Pain becomes a messenger rather than an enemy. You begin to see that every wound in humanity's body was simply a portal through which light could enter. The chaos you once cursed becomes the compost from which wisdom blooms. The idea of us and them will seem as primitive as the belief that the sun revolves around the earth. The age of division is ending. The age of remembrance has begun. But the transition isn't automatic. It happens through participation. Every choice, every breath, every act of attention feeds either the frequency of fear or the frequency of coherence. That is the only real choice you have now, and it is enough to reshape worlds. So when you look at the world and it seems to be collapsing, remember this. It's not collapsing on you. It's collapsing for you. For the emergence of a new humanity, a new way of being, a new way of perceiving time, love, and existence itself. And that's where you come in. The world doesn't need more believers. It needs more rememberers, souls who embody what the next stage of consciousness feels like before it fully arrives. You are one of them. When enough people live from that remembrance, the shift becomes irreversible. That's when the end becomes the beginning, not of a new civilization built on the old foundation, but of an entirely new dimension of being human. And when you wake tomorrow and the world still looks chaotic, don't lose faith. That's how the dawn always looks from within the chrysalis. Light breaking through before the wings are dry. So, pause, breathe, feel the pulse beneath everything. That's the heartbeat of the new earth, and it's beating inside you. The world is not ending. It's remembering itself, through you. If these words resonate in your cells, if you feel that deep recognition humming beneath your ribs, then don't let the feeling fade when the screen goes dark. Anchor it. Close your eyes, take one breath, and whisper inwardly, I am the remembrance made flesh. Then share this frequency, not as information, but as presence. Speak gently, create truthfully, alive, coherently. Because the new world doesn't arrive someday. It arrives every time you do.